All white people are racist. Every single last one of them, all of them are racist.
Not some, all. How could she possibly know that?
You uphold a system of racism by literally just being white.
So simply by existing, if you're white, you uphold the system of racism. You don't have to do anything. You don't actually have to be racist. No, simply due to the amount of melanin or lack of melanin in your skin, we can now tell if you're racist or not. Who is giving these people this information?
I know you love it already because I love such way of thinking. I like critical thinking. And here we are. There's this generalization. All white people are racist. Bottom line, let's look at that. How was the concept of racism introduced to you? And how many things have you been introduced to and you actually took a step to know the reason behind the existence of those things? Or did you just swallow and say, yes, they are racist, and you start looking at people speaking about the same thing? So how was the concept of racism introduced to you? And what step did you do to actually look at it from an angle that is critical?
You said all white people are racist. Just to show America you're not biased, could you make a sweeping generalization about black people?
All black people in America have probably been at the receiving end of some form of white supremacy ideology.
How did I know that's where this was going to go? Constantly portraying us as the poor victims. And it's crazy because the same people that would support that individual saying that about all white people would be pissed off about black people being generalized. We're not a monolith, yada, 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 but it's okay to do that to other races of people. Hypocrisy. And then to just say that all people of a certain skin color are racist is ignorant in and of itself. For one, there's no way for you to actually know that if you actually know the definition of racism, which this individual and people like this individual probably do not. They probably deny the actual definition and create their own or believe their own, which is probably why they say ignorant things like this. I feel an individual has to have a lot of brainwashing, right, in order to say that all people of a certain skin color are racist. Not the majority, not a lot of them, all of them. In order to know that, you'd have to be omniscient, which there's no one walking this planet that I think is omniscient.
But the other hand lies people who try to think that speaking about racism is not good. No. So how can we erase it without speaking about it? They feel like it should just evaporate and go away. And this lady has written something about racism and she did her own analysis. I don't know how you'll criticize this, but let me play the video where she's explaining what she wrote in a book and the analysis that she made based on research that she made.
Systemic racism does not exist in America today. People who keep talking about race causes racial division. Okay, first of all, false. Second of all, never in the history of ever has there been a problem where the best way to deal with it is just not talking about it, but clearly you think it's not a problem, which is why you don't want to talk about it. So I'd like to do a little thought experiment with you. So if you look at all the statistics, you will find, I actually wrote a book and the whole fifth part of my book is about this, so you came to the right person. If you look at all these stats, you will find that black people actually are hired less, they are promoted less, they make less money, they are incarcerated more. Now, if you look at that, you have two conclusions to that. This is the first conclusion. Black people are hired less and promoted less and make less money because they're just not qualified. And I guess they're not as smart and they just don't work as hard as white people. The second reason incarceration is because I guess black people are just more violent. And if you believe that, you're what I like to call a pointy hat racist and you can just kind of go away because I don't have time for you. But if you don't believe that, then here's the other thing you must conclude. There are systems in place that are systemically and systematically disadvantaging one whole group of people and advantaging in another whole group of people. And if you believe that, then you have to understand that it does exist. So if you don't believe that systemic racism exists, then basically you are a pointy hat racist because you're saying it's inherent. Now, I have a book that I wrote, as I said, and here's a chapter I think you might really like. It's called There's a World White People Can Never Fully See. I think I would start with that chapter, but then I would move on. I would move on to this chapter, which I think you might really like. It's called To Shut Up or Not to Shut Up. And then actually there's another one that I like even more than that. It's called The Privilege of Sharing Your Feelings and When to Shut Up. So I think you might like that. And if you think you're really aware person and you're just very educated and somehow you just have come to this crazy conclusion, there's another chapter you can read. It's called How Not to Be a Folk White Person. There's even a quiz. It's really cool. You get points and everything.
It's kind of challenging, but I'll appreciate if you leave me your thoughts kindly. Keep leaving your thoughts, and whatever comes in your mind, feel free to share. Remember that we don't tolerate violence here. Make sure to keep the comments peaceful and respectful, and observe the community.
All white people are racist. It's in their DNA. Ideologies and common occurrences that are a result of a group of people's actions are not hereditary. That'd be like somebody saying all black people are born violent. Then again, even that claim would probably have a little more standing than your everybody's racist thing you got
there is
going
also
on.
this concept of all white people benefit from white supremacy. How do you find that concept correct? How do you find that statement correct? If you look at it, like, how can you explain that statement? So most people define racism in America as a result of white supremacy. And yeah, so let's look at that. Let's look at that, and let's continue with this interaction that this guy is having. I like the way he's interjecting his opinions to challenge people thinking on what they believe, and the generalization that they're making about specific terms that are very sensitive, and they are creating conflicts between races.
No, he doesn't, because all white people benefit from white supremacy.
How? How can you say every single white person benefits from white supremacy?
All white people are born into this system.
All black people are also born into that same system. So I'm not really seeing your point. In this system, there are no rights that white people have that we do not have.
Racism is a part of your culture. And until you actively seek to live an anti-racist lifestyle, until you actively acknowledge that, until you actively dismantle all of it, you are part of that system. Therefore, you are racist. Cope.
As I've said before, racism is a part of the culture or a subsect of the culture, but it's not all white culture. This is one of the worst takes I've heard in a long time. So what does it mean to be anti-racist? Are these white people supposed to get on their knees and give all their opportunity up and give all their money away to black people and say, hey, I'm sorry my ancestors did well, here's all our wealth? Would that make them anti-racist? The current system today is not racist, nor does it hold black people back. And we need to stop acting like it does, because it does not. So many people seem to have this unhealthy obsession with white supremacy. I mean, black people care more about white supremacy than white people do. The vast majority of white people have moved way past white supremacy, but a large portion of black Americans are still highly focused on white supremacy, as if it's a big issue. It's not. So he just basically told you that a white person is racist because they're in a system that has not been dismantled yet. So they can love black people, help them out, right? But if they're not living an anti-racist lifestyle and they haven't dismantled the system, they're racist. I like how we just changed the definition of racism consistently changes over time to fit what people want it to. If you know someone who needs to hear this and they're white and they feel bad, tell them not to and send them this video.
Let's listen to the actual thing that he's talking about. Let's listen, let's follow. And let's
Capitalism paired with racism equal America. Watch this video and I'll be right back. Pay attention.
Do you think Americans are divided?
Absolutely.
Yes, I believe that we're divided.
Well, certainly.
Yes, we are, and it's so many different reasons.
There are many ways in which the powers that be can divide us, but there is only one reason why they do it. And it's this comment 100%. It's exactly what they're afraid of. I've been working through this book right now, The People's History of the United States.
You want to read a real history book, read Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. That book will fucking knock you on your ass.
It comes highly recommended. I'm only a couple chapters in, it's already knocking my socks off, and I want to read to you a passage that I find to be particularly revealing about division in the US. There was a pre-revolutionary uprising called Bacon's Rebellion. I'm not going to get into all the details, but here's what they had to say. What made Bacon's Rebellion especially fearsome for the rulers of Virginia was that black slaves and white servants joined forces. So, the Virginia Assembly, after Bacon's Rebellion, gave amnesty to white servants who had rebelled, but not to blacks. The distinction of status between white and black servants became more and more clear. Racism was becoming more and more practical. Edmund Morgan, on the basis of his careful study of slavery in Virginia, sees racism not as natural to black-white difference, but something coming out of a class scorn, a realistic device for control. If freemen with disappointed hope should make common cause with slaves of desperate hope, the results might be worse than anything Bacon had done. The answer to the problem, obvious if unspoken and only gradually recognized, was racism, to separate dangerous-free whites from dangerous black slaves by a screen of racial contempt. That was hundreds of years ago, and the same playbook is being employed today. The division that we experience exists by design.
See, during the Bacon Rebellion, black folks and white folks that were lower class were working together against the elites because they were getting screwed back then in the 1600s. Well, the elites, of course, did not need that to happen because they realized there was power in unity. So what did they do? They gave white folks crumbs, made them feel like they were superior, told them the reason why they weren't making any money and they're not getting ahead in life is because of black folks, lied on black men and black women, stereotypes perpetrated all over the place to make lower class white folks think that the reason why their life sucked was because of the black people at that time. This is when the creation of the social construct of race happened, because the elites, the higher class, realized that the ants were about to take them to task. So they gave out crumbs and the white folks soaked it up. So black folks have been telling white folks for hundreds of years, this is a class war. They are using race to distract you. They are using race to attack us, to harass us, while they go into your pocket and take your money, while making your life suck. And they use hate to do it. These elites don't give a shit about race. They don't give a shit about nothing but money. That's it. And after Reagan, it started with Reagan, all them tax cuts kept coming. Deregulations in corporations kept coming. And we kept getting poorer and they kept getting richer. And these fucking elites have a lot of fucking audacity. Talking about we too arrogant. We want more. What the hell do you mean? The CEOs make 300 times more than their lowest paid employee. That makes no fucking sense. They are hoarding $13 trillion. Fucking Elon Musk has $248 billion. He will never be able to spend that in his lifetime. Most of the billionaires will never be able to spend their money in a lifetime. There is nothing that they can spend to use that money. They're just hoarding the shit while we sit here and suffer. And they got the nerve to come on social media and show us their fucking lives. Show us their fucking lavish lifestyles. Be on these fucking boats that cost millions of fucking dollars. Go and spend thousands of dollars to go see the Titanic. Spend thousands of dollars to go get into a fucking airplane shaped like a man's junk to go into space for 10 minutes and then got the nerve to come down and thank us so that Jeff Bezos is who I'm talking about. And I'm sitting here on TikTok watching my friends and my family struggle while these motherfuckers just hoard $13 trillion worth of wealth. And then these white folks so fucking blind to see that they're getting played by their own people. And now all of us are suffering. It's frustrating to watch. When will enough be enough? We don't hold these politicians' feet to the fire. We don't ask them the right questions. When we go into these town meetings, what are we asking them? What are you going to do about the housing crisis? What are you going to do about these food prices? What are you going to do about corporate greed? Because if you don't come up with a plan, you won't have a job anymore. We don't ask the right questions. We don't pressure them. We don't hold these people's feet to the fire. I don't care what political party you in. How many of y'all sending emails asking these people what the fuck is going on? I know I am. I wish I had the body that I can go to these town halls and ask these questions. What the fuck are you going to do to help the American people? What legislation? But no, we want to sit here and worry about Hunter Biden and him getting gun charges like we give a fuck. Until we wake up and realize, again, like I said, the ants have more power than the grasshoppers. They're going to continue to exploit us. Why wouldn't they? What is stopping them? It's time to put these politicians' feet to the fire. We find out they're getting money from BlackRock. We need to ask them, what deals did you make? Because we all know they do deals backdoor. They have these secret little meetings. These corporations, these companies are creating legislation so that they can continue making billions while we suffer. It's time for this shit to stop. Black people have been saying this shit, like I said, for generations. We have been fighting for generations. It's time for white folks to get up off their ass and go talk to their people. Because now they're looking at y'all like the new modern day slave. When will you wake up? It's either we all in it together or we all continue to suffer. What choice is the American people going to make? Slavery never ended in this country. It just changed. Wake up.
The United States was not founded on racism. I think that is a total misunderstanding of history.
Well, how many founding fathers were black?
Oh, so you think how many people in the Chinese Politburo are European? I mean, it's like the representation fact.
There's not a big class of European slaves in China. But if there was, it would be a racist state.
That's true. But look, if you say, what was the United States founded on? It's a very specific question, and I'll answer the question for you. The United States was founded on a vision of human nature, of natural rights, of equality and liberty.
That excluded black people.
And of course, was there also simultaneous slavery? Yes. Is that hypocritical? Looking backwards, of course it is. But these are all people who were born into that system that was a human universal.
Wasn't a human. Black people didn't think they were.
This is another misconception that has been brought up. I don't know if it's a misconception because he has fact that he's speaking about. So this will take us to our next video where Europeans think that their issue of race is an American thing and they are out of it. While people are always also experiencing racism in European countries. So what is this racism and why? Why is it happening this way and why things are happening the way they are happening? So these are things that we will be discussing in our next video. Don't forget to smash like button, subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also remember to subscribe if you like such content.